everyone. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone that celebrates it. And today, for this Something Bad Thursday, I thought it would be interesting to dive into something that is a little bit more Puritan again and that sort of revolves around the culture that sort of started the tradition of Thanksgiving. Um, and as you can see by the title, that is the Scarlet Letter movie. And I'm not talking about the 1936 one, or at least ones that have been adapted, I think, earlier on. I'm talking about the 1995 Gary Oldman and Demi Moore version. Oh yes, by request, we're going to be talking about this one on this lovely Thanksgiving, and should it be a treat, because this movie is probably one of the most hilariously bad soap opera films I've probably ever seen. It is just so over the top and crazy, and resembles nothing really whatsoever of the book that it's trying to base itself off of, which I find to be kind of refreshing because I've kind of not really cared for the Scarlet Letter as a story. Just to see it adapted into something that's completely crazy and just insane. It's just great. This is just one of those films where I can sit back and turn my brain off and just laugh, because it's that unintentionally hilarious. So the interesting thing into why I say it plays out like a soap opera is that it tries to really focus in on the relationship between Hester Prynne, and played by Debbie Moore, and Gary Oldman's character, Dimsdale, who ends up being the father of her illegitimate child. Um, and the way their relationship plays out is really much like it's really 90s soap opera. It's a lot similar, I think, to Titanic, in the sense that, the Puritan lifestyle is very restrictive, very limited. There's not a whole lot of um, fun you can have being a Puritan. And so just seeing these two like so alive and vibrant on screen, I think makes the story, at least for me, a little bit more engaging, even though I know it is a pretty bad soap opera relationship. It's still funny to watch, especially when she like first encounters him and she starts stalking him, kind of. You'll see what I mean when you see the film, but it is just downright hilarious. I find it so amusing. This rebellious love is just so great. It's just over the top. It's so goofy. The fact that they try to zoom in on certain angles of people, literally there's a scene where Gary Oldman is bathing. I'm not kidding you. Dimsdale's bathing and she sneaks up on him and watches him. I am not kidding. They have a crazy love scene where there's a bunch of symbolism in it. Like a scarlet bird. Ooh, and it's red. What does that supposed to mean? Ask me what it means. It's so funny. It's just great. Those over the top crazy bad scenes just, I think, make this movie very entertaining to watch. Is it horrible? Yes, it's not a quality, but it still kind of, I think, knew what it was. Um, and that's why I really enjoy it. It's just fascinatingly bad to watch. And I think if sometimes bad things can be more fascinating to watch than the actual story, and this to me was a lot more fascinating to watch for its badness than the Scarlet Letter ever was for its goodness. So, I mean, I guess you could say that this film is somewhat a really deep, deep guilty pleasure of mine, but at the same time, I know it's bad. I know it's of horrid quality, but at the same time, there's a lot of interestingly funny bad moments that, some people, who enjoy like, mindless action movies, um, I think is sort of the same way how I think probably, um, I'm not trying to generalize here, but I feel like a lot of women enjoy really bad soap opera kinds of stuff. Like, you know how these soap opera books are so popular, and you know they're like everywhere in all these bookstores and even at Target or retail stores. You know, they're everywhere. And I think there's a part of me that knows that yes, it's bad. It's horrible. It's badly written. It's badly constructed. But at the same time, there's just so much funny to it, and there's so much dips within fantasy and craziness that it's just amazing to watch, because you'll at least laugh unintentionally maybe twice. um those two scenes though I think really got me, the love scene, and then the scene where she watches Gary Oldman bathe. That is just funny. Just really really funny. um so uh the other interesting thing that this movie provides that is so it's almost to the point where it's kind of stupid, um is Indians. Like, they put in this plot about these Indians who are fighting against the Puritans, and that sort of becomes part of the plot, and actually sort of changes the outcome of the ending. And I find that to be it's such a dumb move, but it's so funny. I'm just like, wait, okay, they decided to put Indians in here because the Scarlet Letter before didn't have Indians, so we gotta insert Indians in there. But I mean, it makes sense for the time period. I mean, there was probably a lot of disputes like that happened, and yeah, what they really do cover is basically kind of the sentiment probably during the time. Um, but is it really crazed? Yes, it is. There's actual scalping in this movie. I'm not kidding you. The Indian tribes, Indian tribe in particular, the one that they focus on, does does some brutal scalping. There's a lot. It's a lot more violent. This film. There's actually a murder that ends up happening, and sort of becomes part of the plot. And it's very crazy. It's just so. It's just insane. This movie is insane for how much stuff it tries to throw at you, how much bad stuff it tries to throw at you. It's kind of like Sharknado in that way, you know. Even though you don't really see that within the title, you think, "Ooh, the Scarlet Letter. They're gonna make sort of a more updated version of it." But they go so updated to the point where it's just insanely. It just doesn't. It ends up not making sense, and at the same time, it just becomes so insanely fantasized soap opera entertainment, uh, goofy, that if you go in with that mindset, I think you can. I think people can find some enjoyment out of it. If you're going to think this is a good adaptation, absolutely not. It is not. It is the exact opposite. And it's kind of sad, but Gary Oldman has been in a lot of bad movies over the years, unfortunately, and this one's kind of no exception. And he does try to play out the long-haired thing like he did with Dracula. And to be honest, I don't find Gary Oldman all that attractive. And I find that funny because, you know, he's supposed to be playing this young minister or whatever, and that's how Dimsdale was supposed to be portrayed. And they don't make him young really at all looking, and it's just funny to watch. And I think what enraged people the most about this film, because it does have a really, really low percentage on Rotten Tomatoes, I think 14% it stands. And again, 41% among audience members liked this film. Um, and I think it's got like a 5 point something on IMDb. But yes, it is down there. It is down there on the levels of quality. But at the same time, I find that there's still a lot of stupid things that they do within the film that make it unintentionally hilarious and I think entertaining to watch, to say the least. Um, so that's what I think people need to understand when going into this film, is to um, go in with it in the sense that I'm gonna watch a really funny bad movie. I'm gonna watch something that's completely insane, completely over the top, and I think a lot of people will see that. especially if they read the original tale, the Scarlet Letter, they'll see how over the top, they'll see how crazy this plot of this film really takes the story. So if you are open to that, then on this Thanksgiving, then I think it's definitely one worthy of checking out. It's just a funny bad. It's not, again, it's not really that well acted, or the lines that they're given are not really all that compelling. Um, Again, it's not the same story as the original tale, really, even though it does have a lot of the similar elements in it. There's a lot of things that drift and a lot of things that they add, like Indians and a murder and all this other stuff. And to be honest, I just find that more entertaining. I mean, I know it's not of quality entertainment, but I find it a lot more entertaining. And I really didn't find the original Scarlet Letter book to be all that of a compelling story anyway. So, to be honest, this is kind of like, it's not an upgrade, definitely not an upgrade, but at the same time, it's still a fun mess. It's a fun Thanksgiving splooge of 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 crazy. It has all of these ridiculous aspects to it that I think will make people laugh, unintentionally, of course. And that's why I think it's enjoyable, and it's one of those really bad movies that I can kind of really laugh at. Sort of similar to when I talked about a little bit a while back about the villain songs that I found to be the most horrible, or of lowest quality. Even though I know they are not really well made songs, they're still enjoyable because they're so entertaining for how bad they are. So I think that's really what I put this movie in the category of being. I can understand why some people would be irritated, especially if they like the original story. But to be honest, I really didn't care for the original story. I thought that a lot of what the original story had to offer was already told in other previous stories, and I think was told a lot better in other stories and other, adaptations than whatever the Scarlet Letter really brought to the table. So to see a version take it to such an over the top and crazy extent, I think just made it all the more enjoyable for me. Because it was almost like slapping the original work in the face, kind of, and saying, "Look, you're really boring, Scarlet Letter, and you're trying to put in things that we've already seen before. So how about I come in here and kind of just slap you across the face with how and give you a really crazy story and insane aspects to it, not make it of substance or quality, but do it in a way that's entertaining." And I think that's what this movie did. At least for me, I thought it was just hilariously horrible. Just a treat to watch. It's kind of like um seeing you know seeing something that you like to eat on Thanksgiving, even though it maybe doesn't look as appetizing, but then once you eat it, you're like, oh, this is actually pretty good, even though it looks horrible and it probably is not as of good quality as maybe something else, you know? That's kind of how I see this movie, in a nutshell. It's just crazy. They do try to make, sort of the love conquers all be the sort of a theme, um, which I feel makes sense for a more updated version because they really try to make out what Hester Prynne did was like in the original tale as horrible and destructive and everybody dies, you know while at the same time these the author's still trying to show that these people are corrupt and a bunch of hypocrites and blah blah blah. But at the same time, I still felt like that the original tale was just too dull and didn't have anything really interesting going on. Um, So this one's kind of just an upgrade in regards to entertainment value for me. Quality value, absolutely not, but I think in entertainment value, it's more fun to watch. It's more engaging, it's more interesting. Are the characters as compelling as in the original work? I mean, they are different. And again, I don't think any of really the characters are all that compelling in either version, but they do try to kind of update it a little bit. But still, at the same time, there is a lot of really horrible things that do happen in this movie. But at the same time, I think, again, there's just a lot of funny moments, a lot of crazy scenes, and it's very goofy. And then they try to add in all of this stuff, and they try to make the theme a little bit different, and don't make Hester Prynne feel like that she's a crime among humanity just because she had an illegitimate kid with somebody. So again, it's kind of it kind of takes its approach in the direction of, again, being more like how people of our time period would probably react to something like this, and then point down at the Puritans and say, "How dare you? You're so judgmental," and blah blah blah. But yeah, that's kind of what this movie goes for, and it's hilarious. It's unbelievably. It's a soap opera. That's all. That's the best way I can put it. It's a bad, entertaining soap opera. If you love bad, entertaining soap operas, watch this movie. Okay, this movie needs to be on your list of bad soap operas. So I think that's why, though, this one gets a very guilty pleasure for me, because I didn't really care so much for the original work. I thought that there were a lot of things within the original work that were trying to be deep, but I didn't feel was really that deep. And to see this one that's not doing anything really deep, but at the same time kind of, I think, poking a little bit of fun at the original work in a bad way, made it up for me personally. So if you did not really particularly care for the original Scarlet Letter book, this might probably appeal to you. If you're a die-hard fan of the original, I would say definitely don't watch this. You're gonna get so mad throughout the entire thing. But to be honest, I find it as enjoyable as all, and I think there's some maybe even people who really do enjoy the original work that might get funny moments out of this one, but just go into it knowing that it's a bad movie. That's all you need to do. Just go in knowing that this is a bad movie, and you'll have fun with it. If you go in thinking that you're going to get something deep, something meaningful, and you're going to come out going, "Wow, I feel so inspired." No, this is not this movie. This movie is meant for you to shut your brain off and laugh at how bad it is, and kind of, poke fun at the original work. That's kind of what it was trying to do. But it took the serious route, and that's why I think critics got mad at it. But at the same time, it's fun. I just think it's fun, dumb soap opera cheese, and it's great. It's just funny. So if you enjoy that, uh, again, if you enjoy Gary Oldman, even in his bad stuff, you'll probably like this one too. If you enjoy him in like a romantic role too, like again, if you enjoyed the Dracula film, you'll probably enjoy this one too, because again, it has that same kind of level of him being a very, sort of seductive man, even though I don't find his long hair and his beard all that charming. He still has a lot of funny little moments here and there within this movie, and there's just little hints of things that happen that are just kind of they're just, in a way, I think it really does unintentionally poke fun at the original book. I think it really does try to, kind of beat itself over the head with how bad it is by really sort of kind of insulting the original work. So yeah, I think it's just more satisfying for people who didn't really care for the Scarlet Letter as a book. I think if you came back really not liking the Scarlet Letter and thinking it was really dull and boring and uninteresting, watch this movie and you'll be entertained, because I think it does have these moments where it does try to poke into the things that the Scarlet Letter was trying to do, and at the same time, go completely over the top with it. Like, when with the love scene and the symbolism with the bird, I think that just completely highlights the what the story was trying to do, with the A, but then at the same time putting the symbolism on even a more obvious note. And I think I just think that it unintentionally makes fun of the original. And that's sometimes I think what ends up happening with bad films that try to do uh, book adaptations. Sometimes they unintentionally insult the original, and that's kind of my view, at least from this movie. But again, just want to let you all know that this is not like the original tale, and I don't really want to give so much away as to the plot circumstances, although it pretty much follows the same thing. It's just they insert Indians in there in this plot with a murder, and that's pretty much all that's really added in there. Um, you still have the same drama, but I think it's really done in an over the top way. There's a lot of crazy over the top moments, and it's fun. It's funny to watch. It's hilarious, unintentionally hilarious. So if you enjoy unintentionally hilarious bad soap operas, you will enjoy this one, I think. But if you can't stand those kinds of films, I suggest stay far away from them. Uh, I think this is more. I think more women in particular enjoy really bad soap operas more so than maybe men do. But if you're open to the idea and you're male, I think you can come out of it with some laughs. Like, you can just laugh at how stupid it is, um, and how ridiculous it is. And to be honest, I think there's probably both, you know, females and males that did not like the original work. So if you want to see something that kind of pokes fun at it, this is a good one, even though it does it unintentionally again. So yeah, I think that's ultimately all I can say about this film. Again, if there are any questions, comments, concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Uh, Again, in case anybody doesn't know the plot, basically this woman named Hester Prynne falls in love with this um, uh, Minister Dimsdale. And the movie actually goes a little bit before the events of the book, so you actually know, okay, how did these people even meet and then suddenly have a baby, So it does provide a little bit more of that context and that backstory, but it does focus in primarily later on in the second act on what was in the book, which was her being condemned and having the A and all that stuff. And then again, Indians and things that don't make sense and don't really add up to much, but are still in there just for crazy sheer fun. So yes, that's the Scarlet Letter movie in the nutshell, and what it revolves around. And but I think that's really ultimately all I can say. But if there are any questions, comments, concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a pleasant Thanksgiving. And I hope to see you all in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.